Kane, so I'm not going to even introduce you, mate, because if people are listening to this, they already know who you are. So let's get straight into it. So this time last year, what were your strongman goals this time last year? Can you remember? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, we were going for the qualifier for England, weren't we? So that was the England Strongest Man at Fair Expo. And I think what we spoke about was the goal was to try finishing the top 10, which was the top half of the pack. I think it was 20 athletes, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I've got a message here. It says 2020. This was on the 2nd of January, 2022. 2020 goals right now is to qualify for England's Strongest Man and finish in upper half of athletes. This is my only current focus. 12 months from now, a better, more fine-tuned, knowledgeable athlete. So you've obviously smashed you've smashed the first goal because you've you podiumed at England's Strongest Man at your first comp, didn't you? So how about the second thing? 12 months from now, do you feel like you're more fine-tuned and knowledgeable?
Absolutely, yeah. I've learned a lot. Not like about myself, but also about like how to train as well. Because obviously coming into strongman, I was completely blind when I just knew the basics from powerlifting, and that was it really. So definitely feel I can tick them first two off.
Brilliant. And then the third one was further in the future, I just want a better, well-rounded athlete. My lifelong dream would be to compete at a Giants live show. Aim high.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Well, tell us about your experience last weekend, Ben. Like, how does it feel like now the dust settled a little bit, and we're a week on? Like, how are you feeling about it? Like now you like say obviously straight back to work and stuff like that. What are you thinking when it got to like Wednesday last week? What the hell are you thinking? What's going through your head when you're reflecting?
Still the same as I was feeling when I turned up there on the Saturday. I was like, I actually can't believe I've done it. Like, obviously, a lot of people spend a lot of time and years trying to get there, and it all happened quite quickly. So it was a little bit like when I turned up there, I was like, "Am I really supposed to be here?" But like I say, looking back on it, I think considering the circumstances with the late call up and stuff, I'm well happy where I finished. You know what I mean? I think I was consistent. So I think it went. I think for the circumstances, it went perfectly. I think that was like the best we could have asked for.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about, like, say, the journey from, say, doing the England Strongest Man where you finished third, and then, like, I put on my social media a couple of weeks ago, didn't I, about creating your own look, and it's stuff that we've talked about. We've talked about in private, haven't we, quite a bit, like in terms of, well, we need to just keep working out how to put yourself out there, make yourself as relevant as possible. It's all right, you're doing these crazy lifts and stuff and building a freak in the gym, but you see so many people on like social media posting up big lifts and stuff. But we agreed that the like a big thing for you was to actually, right, how can we put yourself out there? So tell us a bit more about what you did between bridging the gap between England's Strongest Man and actually getting your shot at Brits. Like, what did you do?
So it was after England's, I actually spoke to a couple of the other athletes there because I didn't know what I was going to do. Obviously being new as well, I didn't know how the strongman calendar went. So I didn't know what competitions were coming up. I didn't know what I should be training for. I was basically winging it. And then obviously the main goal was we were going to keep training anyway. But I was working one day and I got a phone call of AD Monks, who he runs the Lift the Bar and the Unbreakable promotions. He runs his own comps and stuff now. And he basically rung me up and he said there's an opportunity to compete in the SCL, but he said it was a team comp. So it would have been me and one other guy. But he basically said I need an answer within like an hour. And I couldn't even get hold of when I was at work, I couldn't get hold of my boss like quick enough. Then that opportunity sort of went and gone. It was about a few hours later on the same day, he messaged me again. He went, there's another one that's come up. I believe someone might have got injured and pulled out. But it was the SCL Portugal. So he said that was in like, I think it was 7 days or 8 days. So he said, as long as you can get yourself there, that there's an opportunity to go. So obviously I bit his hand off for that one.
So SCL Portugal was the first one, wasn't it? Was it?
That was my first comp, yeah.
Yeah. And then how did
So,
that go?
I got me flights for that, travelled over there. Someone met me and picked me up, took us to an hotel, and then I think it was the following morning, because I got there quite late in the evening, the day before the comp. So I didn't really have time to settle in, really. It was basically get to the hotel, eat some food, and go to bed. Went to the comp the next day. I think it was, we had the car deadlift first, which was the first time I'd ever done a car deadlift, and it completely threw me. I think I got like 3 reps. I think I had 1 disallowed and 1 I just failed because I missed the down signal. But I think the guys who were like in the top 4 and that, they were hitting like 8, 9, 10 reps. So I knew I was well behind compared to guys like this. And then it was the second event was the farmers, or the frame carry, sorry. I think it was a 340 frame, and I actually won that event.
Yeah, that's so I think I did. I messaged you before that. I think it was that one, or was it the next one? Whereas I said, like, you just got to get in the mindset where you know how good you are at this. We know how good you are.
Yeah.
Like this can be a thing where this can be your goal to go and take some scalps on this event, and just get in the mindset of whoever you're up against in the world. You can go and win this event and get some, exposure for it. So yeah, I thought that was absolutely brilliant, and I think that'll have given you a little bit of reinforcement of, like actually how good you are with it. So yeah, brilliant, mate.
Yeah, no, I knew that was an event I was going to do good on. Sort of anything that involves grip, I'm normally pretty confident on, aren't I? But yeah, I think it was a 340 frame, and I was warming up with it. And I remember I went up to the frame sort of towards the last warm-ups, and I picked it up. And I picked it up quite quickly. That I sort of stumbled a bit. And I said to them, I was like, how much more weight we're going to be putting on this before it's like competition weight? And they went, that was 340. That is the weight. And I was just thinking, well, fucking hell, that was easy. And yeah, no, I think I won the event, and I think I was a second faster than second place on that.
Yeah, can you see the screen? I've just got the scores up actually.
Yeah,
so you can see
that.
Sean
Hagen, the 7-foot Irish guy, he was the. I think he got like 16 seconds, and I think I had like 15.
Yeah, which Sean O'Hagan's like renowned for being brilliant at the like say farmers and frame in terms of speed. So that, was brilliant. I think he's.
Yeah, have you ever seen him do the Hercules hold at the strongest Viking? It's fucking. He's a big guy. He's got a fucking solid grip on him.
Yeah, so this is a good stake in the ground as well. By the way, like looking at say the log, because obviously the log came up a lot, and getting 1 rep with the 140 log, which I remember thinking at the time. I was thinking, you know what, I'll be pleased. Like you could have very easily got 0.
If I get 1, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So so that
I think I'd done 140 for 1 rep in the gym, and it was fucking shit. Like I don't even know if I would have counted it really, because I didn't really lock it out. So like for me on that day, it was like, especially like the lads back home as well, they're going, you better not 0 it. So I had the pressure of that as well. But I hit the 1 rep. But the biggest thing with that, it's the first time I'd done a log outside. And I remember doing the warm up, and I picked up an empty log. It was like 80, 90 kilos. And I was looking up in the sky as I went to dip, and it just felt like my legs were going to fall beneath me. Like I couldn't get my head round looking up at the sky, because normally you got something to focus on in the gym, haven't you? There's like a point on the ceiling or something you'd look at.
Yeah. But
it just threw me completely. And like I said, I got 1 rep. I think I had about 5 or 6 goes. I think I cleaned it about 5 or 6 times and tried to press it, and I only got 1 of them. Do you know what I mean? So fuck.
So obviously your performance there like showed it. What do you come like 5th out of 12 or something? Like you're showing that you're more than capable. You can't just fluke a placing like that. So obviously you got the invite back, and then we've got to the Bosnia leg, and then you're competing against names such as like Irvin Toot, Ron Keane,
Portugal as well.
Yeah. And let's have a look at I remember this one, because this was your first truck pull, wasn't it? And then if we look back at I
came dead last on the truck pull.
Yeah. You talk us through this. What like your second comp? Can you see the screen?
Yeah. So Bosnia, if I remember rightly, it was about 3 weeks after Portugal. SCL, I think they had a late start to the year, so there's 16 stages, including the final. So some months you might have 2 or 3 comps in a month. And I think Bosnia, was the first of 3 I did in a month in September. I think that was like the 3rd or the 4th of September or something. And the truck pull was, I think it was a 25-ton like lorry, but it was like one of them real long sort of articulated ones or whatever they're called. And I got myself the footwear and that. I'd sort of spoken to people on what. That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember.
Like if you look at that video, right? I know you've got to be as close to the ground as possible. You want to be low. I was pulling that and I felt like I was close to the ground. And it wasn't until I watched it back that I realised I was basically stood upright. But that's just like I was so inexperienced on it.
Well,
like, I didn't know.
I remember speaking to you about it and seeing the video and seeing you placing because like you've got all the ingredients to be brilliant at truck pull in terms of like obviously the leg strength, you've got like your reasonable body, whatever, blah 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 blah. Your footwork's great on your moving and stuff. But as soon as I saw this video, you can see that you just bolt upright. So then I remember speaking to you and saying about like obviously getting lower, and the key being actually getting to the point where you're trusting your grip on the specific the specific surface that you're on. So that was what was so good for your next truck pull. You progressed so much, didn't you? And you placed a lot higher. But anyway, talk us through the rest of the thing. So
yes, well, we had the truck pull, which I was dead last on. Felt like my biceps were going to explode. Then it was the car deadlift. On this one, it was I think it was a Mustang we were deadlifting, and it was a slightly lower height as well than it was in Portugal. The handles, it was a front hold deadlift. That's the one. I hit 6 reps on this, which was twice as many reps as I did on the last one. So I was hoping for about 5 really from what we'd been doing in training. So I was actually really happy with this. Just watching it now.
Yeah.
I can't. Where'd that finish me? I think I was around mid pack, wasn't I? On that, was I about 6th?
You 6th on that. 6th on that.
Yeah,
you had Farmers next.
Yeah, Farmers. It was 155 kilo each hand, and it was like they were like railway sleepers, like the railway tracks that had been made into Farmers, and there were like 2 of them stacked on top of each other. And I think I won that as well. Actually, I won that event, and I think I was the only athlete who did it in under 10 seconds. I think I had like 9.5 seconds or something like that, and the closest time behind that was like 10.5 or 11.
Yeah. Well, this was actually the next one, wasn't it? The one that I've got.
Oh, that's Romania. Yeah, that was the Farmers in Romania, which they're the same Farmers they used at the SCL UK as well, which I think was between Bosnia and Romania. I didn't do that one. I was actually there as staff helping out, like move the weights around and stuff. At the UK one. But this one was a bit weird because we were running uphill,
didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you see my left hand, the right Farmers stayed pretty level the whole time, but the left hand, it was like teetering forwards and backwards, and I got right to the end of it, and it just nicked the floor, and it just pulled it out of my hand. So it was like just readjust, grab it as fast as I can, and just keep going basically. But I think where did I come on that? Like maybe 4th.
Yeah. So what was good about this next comp was the fact that you got one, and you're still not happy with your log, are you? You're not 100% happy yet.
No,
but you'd gone from 1 rep to getting 4 reps, and I remember speaking to you and being a little bit disappointed. Oh, I got 4, but like in terms of placing, you've come joint 3rd at that in an event that you still feel a bit sketchy with and don't feel like it's flowing. Like you just feel like a little bit. It's like the overhead position that's feeling a bit stiff and tight, isn't it? But it is improving. Like you showed on the Viking last week, Brit, that the overhead position is definitely getting there and looking a lot better. And I actually think this last phase of training, like the last 3 months, when we've been secretly training, preparing just in case you get a call up for the Viking press Brits, like doing the rep work from the shoulders has been invaluable. So, definitely,
it's come on a lot.
So yeah, that Bosnia one as well. Obviously, like you're proving it wasn't just a fluke on the frame. You're taking first on the farmers there again. You're showing that the stones is like we identified pretty early on that stones was going to be a strong event for you, didn't we? And then like in terms of
the stones in Bosnia are a bit weird though, because some of them felt different, like in terms of like even the texture of them. Some of them were quite like grainy, which felt like you had a bit to grip on, and then some of them were quite smooth as well. So that was like the first time on stones where it sort of threw me a little bit. But I think I came second on that. I think I fumbled one of the stones actually, and that fumble cost me first place. I think Rongo ended up beating me on stones, but again by about a second. So I think had I not fumbled it and had to repick it, I would have won the stones on that as well. So I remember I was gutted about that. I don't think it would have changed my position too much, but like overall standings.
I think it was
the
last stone, wasn't it? I think where you just like the first few had just it was easy, wasn't it? It was easy, and then you'd kind of didn't quite have the like whether it was wet or dusty or whatever, but you didn't have quite the same grip as the first few. It wasn't proportionally more difficult, was it, in terms of the weight?
No,
it was just you couldn't grip it, and then you had to. Remember that. Get underneath it.
The next comp we did though, Romania, the stones were wet. They were actually rolled them through wet grass to get them to where we were. Because we were saying just put them on mats, and they were just rolling them through.
Yeah. So
I finished fifth at Bosnia was good because it was like, well, I've got 2 top 5s now. It's like so hopefully people realize it wasn't a fluke.
So you can see the screen now, by the way. If you look on strength results, it's pretty cool for anybody watching this who competes themselves. Just search for yourself on strength results. It's pretty amazing, really. You get loads of decent stats on there.
It's like the open powerlifting for strongman, isn't it? It's like
it's really cool actually. But you can see how like what a brilliant progression here. By the way, you can see that say fifth, and then you got your first podium at the Romania comp. Yeah,
that was a fun comp. That was.
So you look at like say people you're competing against here. So like say Mika Toro, Kelvin De Ruyter, they both did World's Strongest Man, didn't they? Last year, am I right?
Yeah, I think because they got top 3 at the final in 2021, they all the top 3 all got invited. I think.
Yeah.
To World's Strongest Man.
Cool. So yeah, let's what I can see from a glance here, you'd see that the frame carry's a little bit disappointing actually. Like what happened there? I can't remember. How can you only give 5th?
Is this Romania we're talking about now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the farmers, that was what I was saying a minute ago. The left one was like maybe I had my grip slightly off, so the farmer didn't sit level. Also, out of the 4 farmers you see, obviously 2 each for each athlete, each farmer was a different weight, so there was having to balance each farmer with plates to make it the same across the board on each one. But it could have been a number of things, but at the end of the day, everyone was in the same boat, weren't they? So I can't make any excuses.
Of course.
But yeah, it was a slight incline, and the left one clipped the floor, and it just pulled it out of my hand. It wasn't a grip issue; it was literally just it caught the ground, and there was nothing I could do about it.
So obviously, you've shown here as well that you've drastically improved at the truck pull from coming like near bottom to.
I think I came 6th on it.
Yeah. But if you look at like say Kelvin De Ruyter, he's absolutely brilliant at truck pull, isn't he? To be fair, and you're only what 3?
Oh mate, he's like 3 years in a row. He's won the World Truck Pull Championship, and
yeah, exactly. And he's 34 kilos heavier, which again, it is one of those things. Like that. To be fair, that's one of the things why you've improved at truck pull is because you're just using your body weight better than that first time you did it.
Do you know what, the first time though, we had, like you see on the video, we had the rope, and the hardest thing, it wasn't pushing with my legs, it was trying to use my arms and my legs at the same time, because I think I got to a point where I started swaying all over the place, and it's because the rope went slack, because I couldn't, my hand speed wasn't as fast as my foot speed maybe, and it threw me. But in Romania, I think it were 2 trucks, but they were tied together. So once you got going, by the way, we had no rope on this one as well. So once you got going, you get the first truck moving quite easy, and then the second rope tightens, and then the second truck comes along as well. But I actually found it easier without the rope. Yeah, that's the video. So you see there's two trucks sort of one behind the other.
Yeah, so you can see you're actually you're trying to find that bite point there. You're testing your grip on your feet a lot better there, to the point where you're actually slipping a little bit. Whereas you go back to the first video,
it had rained a little bit as well, so it was slightly wet because we did have rain.
You're using your body weight so much better there, and obviously it's not beautifully tidy, but it's a lot better in terms of using your body weight. So good.
There's a big difference here as well. You see the steps I'm taking are quite big. Yeah. Like everyone was shouting at me, smaller steps. But when you're pulling the truck, it's not as easy to just do smaller steps.
Yeah.
Especially like it's the second time I've done it.
And mate, honestly, it's one of those events where it's easy to look from the sideline and say what you could be doing better. But literally, I've been at comps with like truck pulling, and I've actually changed my footwear from the warm up to when I've been called out, because there's been a little bit of rain and the grip's completely changed. And so for the first batch of people coming out to the final people, your optimum footwear, it changes. It's and you might hit there's a patch of wet and there's a patch of wet, like it's.
I have had to do that actually, but I'm sure we'll come to that in a minute when we get to later comp. But that did actually happen with the footwear situation. I actually ended up changing about 3 or 4 pairs of shoes.
So you've got let's have a look at the stone run here, because you've got a few good stone results. So if I remember rightly, this wasn't, you came third. Like, I was buzzing with this because this was
I won the stones.
You
won,
as well. but if it was in training, you wouldn't have been pleased with it because there was like a mistake, wasn't there? You slipped your grip slip or something, and on the final.
Yes, this is what I was saying. On that Romania competition where you see the farmers and the truck pull, that was like one part of the venue. We had to sort of take like a 5-minute walk to get to another part of the venue, and you see all these stones where I'm stood. We had to do log there as well, and a little bit further back was the log platform. Them stones were actually waterlogged to the point where they had to get us mats to stand on for log because the water was coming up over our feet because it had just rained so much.
Yeah.
So again, going into the log on that, it had been moving really well in training, and I just couldn't find my balance with the uneven floor.
I love how you re-grip here, by the way. Like if somebody gets a chance to slow mo on the way back.
So these stones in that sort of grass area behind where you can see the tents and stuff, that's where the stones were, and the grass was soaked, and they were just rolling stones through. And we're like, put a mat down, roll the stone onto it, and almost like lily pad it with the mats to roll the stones in, but they just rolled them. So by the time we started lifting them, they were soaked. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but they were wet.
Yeah. So congratulations! This was your first podium. How did that feel?
That felt great, to be honest. Like, especially considering the two guys in front of me were Mika and Kelvin. Like the photo afterwards is quite funny because they're both like 6'8", and I'm only 6'1", so it was a weird looking podium.
So that was your first podium.
I knew going into that event, I think I was in 4th or 5th, and I knew I had to win the stones to get on the podium. That was it, done deal. I had to win the stones, and I think Kelvin comes second on stones, and I beat him by about a second and a half. So that was a great feeling at my first podium.
So then, obviously, you got the invite back to Gibraltar, which I think the goal there was like you'd done. This would have been your 4th SCL comp, and then from there, the idea was actually have you racked up enough points to make it to the tour finals, kind of thing, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah. So with Gibraltar, I was lucky to get the invite on that because had I not done Gibraltar, I never would have been in the top 10. I'm not sure where I would have had to have placed in the Gibraltar comp to break through into the top 10. But I was quite lucky with that because that was my second podium and I finished second on that overall. Yeah, so that was sort of my best podium result to date in the SCL. That one was.
Yeah.
I think Ivers won it, and then I came second. I think Ivers was was he 2 points ahead of me overall?
Yeah, three points ahead overall.
3 points ahead overall, yeah.
So if let's have a bit of an analysis of this. So the truck pull, so you've got a second there out of the 9. So you've gone from like bottom of the pile to middle of the pile to it being a strong event there. Which
who won that? Was Kelvin at that one? Yeah, Kelvin was there. He won the truck push. Yeah, that was a push, not a pull. Yeah. So we had like an armored truck, I think it was, and it was actually uphill as well. So that just made it that little bit harder. And I think it was 25 or 30 meters we had to go. Was it? What does it say on there?
25 meters. It was
25 meters. Yeah. So that was the first event. Yeah, I got second on that, so I got some good points going into that, and yeah, so I went from dead last to 6th to 2nd on the truck events. So
yeah, absolutely brilliant, and to compete against some of the guys like Gav Bilton, you competed against him last weekend. He's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
he was amazing last week.
Ellis was there as well.
Yeah, and that was like literally. Was it like the week before that he competed at Glasgow? I watched him compete at Glasgow, and he came at Giants Live.
Second.
And he comes second.
He got second, yeah. So he's got his invite to the Worlds now, hasn't he?
And I remember seeing all the guys that he beat that day. Like I went to the show; it was incredible, and he was absolutely brilliant. And for you to push him so close on that, and that's where people say, hopefully, like people who've been watching this so far can see that, like you're a bit of a surprise on the scene, whereas we weren't so surprised at how you performed last week. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like there wasn't anything that you did last week that me and you were kind of. It was brilliant how it all tied together. Like we didn't take anything for granted. And like you could have got injured, you could have had an accident or anything. So you can't take it for granted how you put everything together at Britain's last week. But in terms of it being like a surprise and on any kind of individual thing, like we know how good you are, and hopefully going over this kind of data has shown that it's not exactly a fluke. It's been a gradual build up. So.
Like, to be honest, because obviously I'm like, even now I'm only just over a year in, but going through all these comps, I was the underdog. So like, I'd come out of nowhere. Got that podium in England. Maybe people thought I was first time. Maybe it is a bit of a fluke, but I was sort of still the underdog going through all these other competitions. And I think after Gibraltar, maybe people started to realise that.
Well, that's it, mate. Look, you've done what? You've done seven competitions in a year. 6 of them have been like what?
Well, it was between
5 international.
July was my first comp, and my last one was January. So I've done 7 in like 6 months.
Yeah, and just look at the pacing. Look at the consistency. 5th, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and also look at the. I don't know if you looked at your placings of the events last week, but out of what was the 12 athletes or whatever. 12.
Yeah, so I think,
and
I think out of the 5 events, I had 2 7ths and then 3 5ths.
3 5ths, exactly. Yeah. And amazing. Right, so you got from the getting enough points on the first 4 at SCL, you got to the World Tour finals. So yeah, talk us through that.
Yeah, so after Gibraltar, all the points have been worked out. I actually finished 5th in the top 10. So for anyone that doesn't know, with the SCL, when you go into the final, you have your 12 athletes, you have your top 10, but then they have 2 athletes who are like home crowd. So we had 2 Turkish guys who weren't actually in the top 10, but because it's in Turkey, they get to compete. So I think the way it worked was Kelvin was in first place. So he started, before any events happened, he started with 12 points. And then they work back. So then it'd be whoever finished in second starts with 11, third is 10, and so on. So I started with 8 points because I finished in 5th on top 10. So I'd like a 4-point lead. The first place had a 4-point lead on me that I had to try and make up.
So you you did the block press first. Do you remember how you were getting your head around the block? Like, it's crazy, wasn't it? So you came second.
That was the main event I was worried about.
So tell people who are listening how you trained for this.
Right. So originally we thought we ain't going to get a block, are we? So we tried using the sandbags, but the sandbags just don't work. They're too soft, and I kept finding, for me personally, if I tried to press it, it just rolled my wrists, and it just become quite painful. So that wasn't working. So what we did, me and Shane were training, and he had an old suitcase. So he's like, why don't you chuck a sandbag in a suitcase? So we did that, tried it, and it was still moving around a lot. So I ended up getting loads of pillows and like bits of clothing and stuff, rolled it up, sort of packed the suitcase out so it was tough. And we learned to do block press on a suitcase. And it fucking worked brilliantly. Honestly, it was fucking awesome idea. I can't believe no one else has ever thought of it.
Yeah, well, after that, I actually went and bought a suitcase. I sent a video, didn't you? I went to Home Bargains and bought a suitcase, and just brilliant, because the positions feel the same, and it feels safer as well. Like to get your head around.
If anything, using the suitcase was harder, because if you look at their marble blocks, they're only about 150 mil thick, whereas a suitcase, you're talking fucking 14 inches, 12 inches, isn't you? So cleaning a suitcase was so much more difficult, whereas them stones, they were difficult because it was hot, and obviously everyone's sweating as well. So they were really slippy. But yeah, looking at that 130, I wasn't even stood on the mat when I pressed it. I was all over the place with that.
So
I think I was the second guy out of maybe 3 or 4 on the day who actually finished it and did the 130.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I was second place on that event, which I was buzzing with, because that put me in a good place going into, like, obviously the next event, which I think was natural stones.
Yeah. So anyway, you came third overall at this, didn't you? The World Tour Finals, which is just absolutely incredible. Yeah. So then after the SCL stint, like our idea was, right, we'll just get loads of experience and put yourself out there. And I put a video, I made a reel the other week and shared something, and purposely it was just so there were some videos where you'd fucked up and you'd, like, fallen over the sandbag, or you'd slipped with a stone, you were shit at that truck pull that first time, like just stood bolt upright, all these kind of things that people think, like, say people will see you for the first time at Brits last week and think, oh, fuck me, he's solid all round. But actually, you've put yourself in. You've flown. You've, like, a lot of people like they won't travel an hour to go and do to go and do a comp. You've gone abroad to go and get some experience, to mess up, put yourself out there, put yourself in the. I just think it's absolutely brilliant, and obviously this is something that I recommend to people, and I feel that when people say, like, or how do you deal with nerves, how do you improve composure, how do you stop yourself getting nervous when you put on the spot, like, I'm the biggest believer of, you've just got to expose yourself to these environments, aren't you? Like, what do you think?
I think as athletes as well, anyone will tell you you ain't going to grow or get stronger or anything if you're comfortable. So you need to put yourself in them positions, and I'm, like I say, I'm happy to do that. I don't mind if I go out and I look shit, as long as I know I've tried. Do you know what I mean? That's good enough. But doing these comps back to back, I managed to cram a lot of experience into a short amount of time, I think. And it just, sleeping the results, like, it helped every time, and I got better. So,
and I think
it's just one of them things.
A big thing as well that is, like, what you learn about yourself is that you're a lot more resilient than what we can kind of, like, sometimes anticipate ourselves to be. Like, I remember when we started and we were talking about, like, say, managing recovery and stuff like that, and holding back here and holding back there. And don't get me wrong, like, everything's it is very structured, but when you get in these opportunities and we're doing a bit of a training block where we're building towards something, but then you get invited to this comp, like, say 2 weeks out, that, like, fucking go for it, of course. But you go and do that, and then you're back training 2 days later, you're a bit stiff, but then you're like, oh, fuck me, I can still lift X, Y, and Z. Oh, how do you feel? Like, is your back all right? Your shoulders all right? Yeah, I feel all right. Like, you actually learn that
we're not made of glass, are we? At the end of the day, we can handle a lot more than we think. It's all in your head.
Well, I believe that a lot of us can handle more than,
we think we can.
Yeah, definitely. And like like this time last year, if we'd have said like you're going to do 7 comps in the space of however many months, like not even mentioning the caliber of comps that you've done, like you could see how we'd be apprehensive about it and think, oh well, is this going to be the right way to go? But you just anyway. So
I was trying to make a mark in a short amount of time, wasn't I? So I wasn't going to ever turn down anything. I was just anything that's thrown at me, I was just going to run it at full steam, basically. But
yeah, but equally, a lot of people might say interpret that as being, oh well, it's a bit reckless and it's going to catch up with you, kind of thing.
Maybe.
But equally, how many things have we had? Like, say, this is one of the questions I was going to come to. Like, has it all been plain sailing? Like, has it just been all been sunshine and rainbows and stuff? Like, it
no, not really. Like, what? It's not even training related, but one of the biggest parts is doing all these comps back to back. I used up a whole year's worth of holiday for work in 3.5 months. So like even now, I don't get my holiday renewed until the end of May. And I took my first bit of holiday for England's Strongest Man, and by November, the whole year was gone. So now I've got to try work around what I'm trying to do with competitions because I've got no holiday to take. So it's that does get stressful with that sort of stuff as well. But you just got to try to pick them carefully.
I listened to something Mitchell Hooper said the other day about programming considerations, and it was about and it was like 3 pillars of training principles without it being anyway 3 really important things. And he said sleep, which obviously one of those things, like one of the most important things as we know. The other kind of pillar is like nutrition and hydration, and then the other pillar being life stresses, and that's a kind of thing that a lot of people undervalue. They think they put so much importance on the couple of hours training session in the gym, but if you're having to manage, like, say, work, and you're getting loads of stick at work about like time off or like all this kind of pressure, then you need to get all that right. Like it's all like a kind of, it's all linked massively, isn't it? Like a whole cycle.
So at the end of the day, we all love doing strongman, but going to work is what pays for strongman. If I didn't have a job, I wouldn't be able to afford to do this. Yeah. So you really have to find a fine line between both.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, in my situation, I do anyway. But.
So yeah, what I was referring to, the plain sailing, like how many times have we had to like navigate around little things that have cropped up? Do you know, like, say for instance, when you're training moving events
injuries and strains and stuff.
Yeah, and just things like you're having to manage about, this beautiful kind of this is what we fancy doing for the next 3 or 4 weeks, this beautiful progression. Or like I spoke to you the other day about, like, say the next 4 weeks or whatever, like this is what I think, and it sounds beautiful on paper and great, but we both know that there'll probably be something unforeseen that'll crop up, and you'll be like, oh shit, I tried to do this and that wasn't happening. So what should we do? Like, like the amount of things that we just have to tweak, and that I suppose what I'm trying to put across to people listening is that it's perfectly normal. Like this happens to everybody. Like of
course it does. And it probably happens a lot more often than people think as well. Like I say, there's been times when we've sat out a phase or a block or something for me, and then first weekend I get bicep tendonitis, and then I'm like physio for the next 3 weeks or something like that, and then you have to adapt everything again because you can't be throwing logs up doing cleans all the time when you biceps or something. Which
That was one that I forgot about actually, but yeah, that was a thing that you were say you pressing when we started. You picked up pressing pretty well from like the rack and push pressing and stuff like that. But then any type of cleans was like triggering the bicep tendonitis, wasn't it? So then
it was the axle more than anything. It was the axle. I still don't know why it was happening, but that seemed to. But anyway, get me straight away, and it was horrible.
We navigated around it, and I can't remember what we did. We split it into two and worked on technique stuff and skill or whatever. And then we went super, super light for ages on the clean element. And then we put them together for, was it the 1 rep max for the online qualifier or something? I remember you messaging me and you just went, all right, mate. Was feeling all right tonight. So I've just hit a 30 kilo PB on axle or something. You'd hit. I
think I did 162.4 or something. It worked out at one. I think.
Yeah, but I
think my best axle before that was like 130, and that was when I was powerlifting as well. I wasn't even doing strongman then. I went to another gym and they had an axle there, and I was just piss assing around on it. And I think I put up 130. We were meant to be backing off, I think, for a little bit, weren't we? And then I just thought, I feel good, I'm going to go for it, and I recorded it. And that was actually the one I submitted for the online qualifier.
But I suppose just evidence and just proof that like a lot of people fall into the trap of thinking that you have to be following a perfectly linear progression to get from A to B, whereas in reality, like. It doesn't work. It's not optimal to like, we're not robots. And sometimes we can get from A to B from actually just work at a level that you can actually work at and recover from. And sometimes like if you can get those, like you can nail the benefits that are, anyway, we're going off on a tangent, but
one thing I've learned a lot with the coaching with strongman as well, like with powerlifting, it was like you do this many reps, you do this many sets, and that's what you do. That's fucking. It was like very like regimented. Whereas like with the strongman, we've got the plan, but like you say, if it's there, if it's not going to impede another session, go for it. But then at the same time, there's been times when I've said, "Oh, I don't feel like doing this today," and I've thought, I won't do this, and then I can use energy for another session. And all of my lifts have gone up. So. The change from coaching in strongman from powerlifting all round, I've improved everywhere, I think. So, and like I say, sometimes you've got to back off, sometimes you've got to push, sometimes you do exactly what you're told, but having that little bit of freedom, I think's made me grow a lot more.
Yeah, I think it does work well, and like finding I think that's something where we've connected quite really well so far. Is like we kind of think the same way, don't we? In terms of at the end of the day, fundamentally, why the fuck do we do this lifting stuff? Because we love lifting heavy shit, don't we? Like fundamentally, like that's it. So if we're gonna like to do what is like say physiologically optimal, like may not actually, if we're not enjoying it and we'd go and maybe find something else more for, like it's got to be a kind of middle ground, hasn't it, where we're following this is the kind of periodization model that we're trying to go from there to there over the course of time, but there's going to be a bit of structured improvisation in there. Like you're feeling good, you've got some exercises that like say for instance you did your Viper press today on the log, didn't you? Like you've done your work and then you're like feeling good. And the worst case scenario on that log, like say you'd have gone for 155, 150 or something and failed it, that you'd have failed it and just dropped it. Like in terms of like impact on your recovery and stuff like that. Whereas you have something where somebody like me can do a lot of high percentage work, high volume at say yoke and recover really well. Like for you, like that's something that's maybe triggered shin splints sometimes, like, so we won't do too much work. Like you won't do, even though you're strong enough to say, go and do 3 sets of 20 meters at 420, like, would it be worth what it's taken out of the recovery bank account for you to do that? Do you need to be doing
small gains for fucking quite a big suppose, halt in the road sometimes, isn't it? When you know it's just going to pull you back now for the next few weeks.
Exactly. So you kind of like say picking your battles. Like you're not daft. You know what you can, what you're more likely to be able to recover from. You know, like say when we were doing the dumbbell phase, for instance, and you were like, "Oh fucking hell, I've just done 90 kilos and it moved like that." But you've only said to do 90 kilos. I'm like, well, if you want to do more, just do fucking more. And if you if you miss, you know how to bail safely. You're not like, don't grind the reps out. It's either got to be easy or you fail. Like don't be grinding reps out in shit positions and stuff. And
so with that dumbbell, I like watching it. I was always thinking like, it's a press, and it ain't a fucking press, is it? It's a catch. Like when I sort of figured that out, it was like you gave me a few cues, didn't you? And it was almost within like 2 weeks. Dumbbell just went mental compared to what I was lifting before. Do you know what I mean? And it was just getting used to getting my body underneath the dumbbell, because essentially I was trying to dip but press the dumbbell, and I'm never going to press 100 kilos on one fucking arm, am I? Like it's not going to happen. But yeah, what did we add to the dumbbell? It was like 55 kilos, wasn't it? And
54 kilos. You went 56 kilos to 110 kilos in 59 days.
59 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there was actually a video on my Instagram of the two. I put the two videos, not side by side, but I posted both of them. And it was like 56 kilos.
Yeah,
and I was fucking shit.
I've got a print screen of the conversation somewhere saved, and it was like you'd hit like 90 or something, and you were like, "Oh, what do you think I could?" And I was like, "Oh, I'd be disappointed if you don't hit 110 before whatever." And you were like, 110, 110.
Yeah, I think you said 105 plus, and then you were like, "I'll be disappointed if you don't do 110." And I think at the time, because it was 90 kilos for reps on the day at England's, wasn't it? And I was thinking like, I'm not going to get one rep. And then I think, like say on the day I think I actually did 7, but 5. I got 5. One of them I didn't get the down signal and I didn't hold it long enough, and then one of them I outright failed. But I actually hit 7 in training with 91 kilo, I think it was, and it was like within a minute. I did not 7 reps in training. It was quite easy as well. But yeah, just like say, just a few cues, a few little tips on body position and like dumbbell path and all that sort of shit, and it just fucking transformed it within a matter of weeks.
Yeah, right. So just give us a brief summary of Brit. So I've got the give us a brief summary of Brits last week. So we built up SCL, getting your shot, putting yourself in the shop window, whatever, with the SCL stuff, and then getting your invite. All right, when was it? In November. I remember you a video calling when I was in November. It must have been November because I was
Florida.
OSG and speaking to you.
Yeah,
and then that was when we decided, wasn't it, to like let's focus on the off-season stuff. Go on.
Yeah, so we was going to go into an off-season, weren't we? And I think it was I found the events out. I think, wasn't it? So I phoned you and told you about that. Was that conversation?
Yeah, you'd heard some rumors.
Yeah. So being in the off season, in my head, I'm like, what am I going to do for training? We could just tick over doing the basic stuff that we always do. But then I thought, well, you said, like, why don't we just train them? Like, because you never know. It's better to be like prepared for something you're not doing than not be prepared for something that you possibly might. But I think it got to like a week out, didn't it? And I still hadn't had an invite or nothing. Right? In my head, I thought, well, it ain't happening. And then I got a little message, didn't I, when I was at work. And part of what they said as well, which going back to what you were saying about training the events, part of the message was, we've seen you've been training the events. Like, do you fancy competing on the weekend? And it was like, well, yeah, like 10 days or 9 days notice, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it says a lot, because obviously like you training the event, you're actually you're showing that you obviously believe that you belong there and that you're good enough to do it. So without
sounding like a fucking bellend, like, yeah, I did believe like one day, I do believe one day I could be there. Like whether that's fucking as quick as it was, or if it's fucking 5 years down the line, whatever. Like you gotta fucking believe in yourself, innit you? Like you gotta have some fucking, you gotta kid yourself enough, innit you, to think that actually you can do it. Otherwise, you're never gonna push yourself hard enough to do it. But like it was a bit of a double-edged sword, though, wasn't it? Because at the same time, I was fucking over the moon to be there, but it was at the expense of someone else getting injured. Obviously, like Luke Richardson tore his lat, didn't he? And I've watched Luke all the way through his strongman, like even when he was powerlifting, and like after the shit couple of years he's had, I was really looking forward to seeing Luke come to Brits.
Yeah,
like I thought that was going to be a really amazing show, and I thought, to be honest, he would have been on the podium 100%. He could potentially have won it, couldn't he? So like, it was like gutting to hear that Luke's injured, but at the same time, it's like I've got to take my opportunities when they come.
Yeah, definitely. Right. Well, here's my prediction anyway.
You always get what you deserve, like win, lose or draw. Doesn't from my prediction is that he's going to establish himself as, like in my opinion, he should be finishing middle of the pile or above, or top half, and ideally put himself towards the top or at the top of like the reserves list of, for the other shows.
What do you think his best event will be?
The great thing about him, apart from like just being like a performer and like his attitude and stuff, is the fact that he's just so willing to work on the things that would bleed points at comp. So rather than thinking like he could specialise in any of the events, I mean, like he could be amazing. He is amazing at stones, or he could be chasing a 400 deadlift or 900 pound deadlift or whatever. But actually, he's just shown willing to graft on the things that he needs to fill in the holes. When he was training for that England's conference.
So we've already talked about this with you, like we've gone through the truck pull data, for instance. Instead of a lot of people will get into the trap of, oh, fuck me, I've won farmers at an SCL comp. Let's do farmers every week because I'm a savage. Whereas actually, you were happy to work on the stuff that you struggled with, like say the dumbbell,
absolutely,
the log in terms of flexibility, the axle stuff, the overhead. Just amazing.
He was strong, obviously, but he hadn't done dumbbell, and he was like, I think he was like 56 at the first time, and then went from like 56 to 105 or 110 in like 56 days or something, because like he knew that was a thing, and I think he got 90 for 6 on the day and got really good points for it. Whereas when the things came out, that was the thing. Just trading non-specific stuff. He's had the same thing as like a lot of guys that come from powerlifting, where he's got this really
blah 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 blah. You get the point. But anyway, that was my prediction on the way down. Like say, good enough to be top half, and like the idea. The idea was to be the head of the main established guys. You're talking like say Hicksy and Bish and like Paul and Gav, but to beat the other guys was just absolutely phenomenal. But like even though it was brilliant for you to put everything together, like by putting that prediction up, like that's genuinely what I thought, and people were like, oh, fuck me, Kane's amazing, Kane's done brilliant, or one that anyway, I don't know why I'm saying this, but it actually annoys me when people say, oh, Kane smashed it tonight, and like whereas it frustrates me a bit because I feel like we've smashed it like every minute of every day for the last like since ever you've committed to it. Do you know what I mean? It's not just a case of you've come and put in a good show and fluked it at one opportunity. It's been a build, as we've proved by the data that we've expressed or not. So give us a brief summary on how it went then. And
so it was fifth overall, wasn't it? Obviously a couple of weeks out. Obviously, where I was in an off season, I dropped about 12 kilo body weight since the final in November. because I was 146 kilo in Turkey, and that when I got the email for the Brits invite, I was like 134 kilo. So I wanted to put a little bit of weight back on. I think we actually put on in like 7 or 8 days. I put on nearly 9 kilo or 8.5 kilo, which was like good because it still put me like lighter than I'd been in previous shows. But I knew I was going to need some body weight behind me again. But then I'd done my back. Like I think I pulled like 317 in training, which normally is like that's something I could rep quite comfortably. But it was 1 rep. My suit didn't fit me properly because I dropped a lot of body weight and I ended up tweaking my back. So going into Brits, the first event being the deadlift ladder, it was 300, 320, 340, 360, 380. And like in my head, I knew it was going to be a fast run show. So obviously we've been working on cardio a lot as well, which fucking thank God we had, because I might not have made it through the show otherwise. But in my head on that first event, I thought I'm going to do 340. And like in the moment, I'll make a decision on whether I'm doing 360 because the last thing I want to do is have a go at 360, fail it, and then I've got a 450 kilo car walk on the next event and I've gained nothing. So like I knew this is going to have to be like the most calculated we've ever been going into a show. Pulled the 340 and I think I actually walked up to the bar quite slowly on the 360 because like even when I was walking to it, I was thinking, do I, don't I? And I strapped on and the fucking thing went up. Like, I can't believe I got the 360, to be honest. Like, maybe it's adrenaline from the crowd being there and stuff.
Yeah.
And just sort of being in that moment. But
I do think it was one of those things where you like underestimated yourself a little bit because that again
but it's because I had that injury in the back of my head. You know what I mean? The last thing I thought, if I pull 360 and twinge my back and I'm out, then I fucked it, haven't I? Like.
Yeah, but
it went exactly how it should have. When I got the 360, it went up pretty smoothly.
Well, you were saying, well, I'll just go for 340 and then maybe leave it. And then I said to you, look, just go for it. And if the 340 moves well, then attack that fucking 360 because you're definitely strong enough to do it. And that's what you did.
I think my best deadlift, I've tripled 365. So I know it's like I know it's the weight I can lift. But I've never trained a deadlift ladder. So like when you're pulling 360, within 20, 30 seconds of pulling 300, 320, 340, 360 isn't 360. It's more like 375. It's more like 370. Yeah. So like I was learning on the job on that basically.
So to people listening or people tuned in, if anybody wants to ask Kane anything or ask me anything, just leave us a comment. So obviously we've done the kind of the background, his journey from starting off in strongman to Brit. So I've got some questions that I'm gonna reel through now. But if anybody wants to join in and ask him anything, because I've just about a couple of minutes ago managed to click on and actually see the questions that people have put in. But yeah, just fire the questions across. I'm just gonna work through some more questions now. So tell us about your goals for the next 6 to 12 months, both lifting and or competition or a combination of both. So putting you on the spot.
So let's go through competitions first. Obviously, the plan for this year was I've now like with the SCL, I've got a whole season now because obviously I've done 5 out of the last 6 competitions from the back end of that season. So knowing that I've got a whole season to work my points up and improve as well. Like I want to win the final next year. Like I got top one, I got 3rd this year, didn't I? So like I don't think it's a ridiculously outrageous claim to think that I've got a chance. Obviously everyone else is going to be improving as well, but that's like a big goal that I'd just like to do for myself as well. Obviously we didn't think Giants was going to happen and it did. Like I'd love to do another Giant show as well. Obviously, if the opportunity came up for that, I wouldn't turn that down. But it's just going to be. I know the SCLs are guaranteed right now, so I can work my way through that, and then hopefully, what I can pick up, if I can pick up any Giants on the way, then hopefully do some of them too. But you never know. You have to see what happens, won't you?
Yeah. So I got a question here about Britons. So somebody said, which I'm not sure whether they agree with or not, but your mindset seemed nervy beforehand. How did you get over your initial nerves as comp went on?
To be honest, right, throughout all the comps I've done, I've never really, personally, I think I've got that nervous. There's that little bit just before the show's about to start where you get that butterflies, but then once the whistle blows, you tunnel vision, ain't you? You don't really think about it.
Yeah.
But when I got that Brits invite, like I say, I was at work, I got it. It took like half hour for it to sink in, and then I did feel a little bit fucking sick because I was thinking, fuck, like this is actually happening now. Like the biggest thing I didn't want to do there is turn up there, come fucking dead last, look like an idiot, and fucking embarrass myself. Obviously, that's always going to be in your mind. But a good part of it was last year, and the 2 previous Brits, I went to both of them with Shane. First year I was sat in the crowd. Second year I was backstage with him, helping him out. So the way I thought of it was, in my head, I'm not going in blind because I know how it runs backstage because I was there with Shane sort of helping him. So that played a massive part in sort of settling it for me. I thought if I was going to be nervous at any point, it was going to be before the walkout. And like, it was the complete opposite. When we could hear everyone sort of shouting in the introduction before we went out, I was just fucking buzzing. Like, I couldn't wait to get out. No, and it just fucking, the adrenaline dump I got from that was fucking nuts, mate. Like, that was the favourite part of the whole show, was just the fucking walkout.
Honestly, mate, I remember like a switch going for it. Like my heart rate just shot up, and I just felt like I don't know, like I was gonna start. I don't know, and it was when Prodigy Breathe played, and I didn't realise it was your tune that you'd put on, and then I was like Kane Francis, and I was like, right, fuck.
You can't fucking beat the Prodigy, mate.
No, it was because I've seen I've seen the Prodigy, and I've been at the front row, and I've been next to like the speaker for Breathe, and I've like tasted that bass in my throat, and it was absolute class, and it just reminded me. To
be fair, when I spent my when they asked me what I wanted for my music, and I said Prodigy, I think the initial message I got back was, "That's going to blow the fucking roof off." So like, and that's exactly what I wanted. Because it's like, you never know, that could be the one and only show I ever do. You never know, do you? So it's like, I wanted a bit of music that's going to make people like remember the walkout as well. If that worked, maybe it works, maybe it didn't. But like, I wanted something exciting, and I feel like you don't get much more exciting.
It's great.
Prodigy. So.
Buzz it like,
yeah.
So Dan Clark has asked, do you have any specific ritual or routine before an event one in a big competition to help control nerves? So we just talked about getting the Prodigy Breathe on was like a thing that helped you switch on. But is there anything that you do specifically?
To be fair, like for me, I don't even think the ritual starts before the first event's about to start. That ritual starts a week out. It's like I like to know the way. Like obviously, I ask a lot of questions. I'd rather ask a lot of questions and have it in my head ironed out. Do you know what I mean? So as long as I know what I'm doing, what I'm capable of, what the plan is, if that plan's solid, what's there to be worried about? It's going to go good or it's going to go bad. And if you've controlled all the variables that you can control, like, why worry? Like, you're there to enjoy it, aren't you? Like, I like to think I'm a serious athlete at the same time.
Yeah.
But I'm not that guy who's going to sit backstage with my headphones on, not talking to anyone, because you run it through your head 1,000 times before you're even there. So if you need to do that on the day, I think that's mentally draining. So like, I'll just be fucking talking to people, mate, just like I would be in the gym. And then when you're out in the next few minutes, fucking switch it on then. And that mindset works really well for me. And it, like I say, it doesn't mentally drain me. Like, I know I'm there, I know I'm prepared. So like, it's going to go how it's going to go. End of story. So.
Yeah, like I completely relate to that. Like a lot of people think when I'm not like always with sport, like people think off the field, like I'm like a fucking joker and I'm piss about and stuff. But then as soon as that whistle goes or over that white line or whatever, like there couldn't be, like you couldn't take it more seriously. Like literally every rep of every set that I ever do, and you're the same.
Yeah.
Like you don't do any single rep, even a warm up rep that's like half-assed. Do you know what I mean? Brilliant. So
you train how you compete, don't you? So there's no point fucking half-asking it in training when that's not what you're going to do on the day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why are you even bothering?
Yeah, a thing that I like is like what is it? Like taking your sports or taking our hobby sport like 100% serious, but without taking yourself too seriously. You know, like say, it's great what you and Shane and Mitch and that have like with your training, like just always taking piss out of each other, and you know, that like all the time you're just the same, aren't you? You know, whether you've had a good day at work, shit day at work, or whatever, you go with your team, your group of people that you can rely on. And it doesn't matter if you've all had a shit day or whatever. Once you're still there together, and you know you've got each other's back. And I think that's really powerful, having that team, isn't it?
To be honest, mate, without them, and like, it's not just like obviously with the strongman, it's me, Shane, and Mitch. We train that together. But over the years, there's like I've got quite a small circle of people. I've got Darren Walker, old man strength, whatever. He's 54 years old with 300 kilo deadlift. He didn't start powerlifting until 3 years ago. Do you know what I mean? The bloke's a fucking animal. And then you got like Luke Tolman, all-time world record under 23 bench press. He pressed 255 raw at like 96 kilo body weight as a junior. So like the guys that I started training with, like I looked up to them through my training, like fucking hell. Because when I started, I was 12 stone with a fucking like a 200 kilo deadlift. And then I had these guys to chase. So like a lot of my success, it fucking wouldn't happen without them. And like obviously over time as well, we've all become like best friends as well. So it's like without them, I probably wouldn't be where I am now. So,
but
but at the same time, we do fucking rip each other. Like,
it's quite funny, really, isn't it? Like we've talked about the importance of the culture, like you have, like say with the guys from Weymouth, and you all like it seems a bit weird that there's all these freaks together like in the same vicinity or whatever, but it's the culture that breeds that. It's not like a kind of innate thing, is it? It's not like you're just all genetic gods or whatever, all born in the same place. It's like I do believe it's a culture that and an environment that breeds that, like similar to what we have up here, like in around like the Morecambe area, and the people who train with us, like it's just mad.
You're
like
savages.
Just mad some of the quality of the lifters, but it's the it's like on the whole, like it's a common culture. It's the common thing of like it's turning up, training no matter what. It don't matter whether you've had a shit day or whether you've got a fucking cold or whether you've twisted your ankle or whether you I didn't sleep last night. So what? No one cares. Like, just come and we'll take this out of each other for now.
Excuses.
like genuinely, no one cares. Like, just turn up. Or if you don't turn up, go and fucking do something else. But don't speak to us about training anymore. We'll still be your mate, but don't fucking anyway.
Yeah.
But and it's having that environment of seeing people turn up no matter what, and you know, going through dealing with shit, dealing with struggles, but still. You know, like all your mates that have, like, say, hit like that are champions or hit records or whatever. You see the stuff in the background that nobody else sees. Of fucking hell, like, do you remember when he won that title? But then 6 week lead up, he didn't know whether he was going to make it because of X, Y, and Z. His fucking hamster died.
Yeah.
You know, like shit happens for everybody, but like literally everybody.
Shane's a good example of this. Shane's first strongman competition was England's Strongest Man the year before the one I did in 2021. And if I remember rightly, he tore his hamstring like 3 weeks out deadlifting. He had fucking fractures in his shins and shin splints because they were so fucking bad. And he still managed to go there on the day, pull out of the bag and win. And that was his first comp. So, like, nothing's like, you can't just blame it on injuries and excuses and stuff, because there are ways around things. And like, if you're fucking determined enough, and you got that grit, you're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah,
but like,
I suppose my point,
the road, isn't it?
Yeah, but my point is like you have that, like, it's so powerful having that culture that you're surrounded with. That like you're like that, I'm like that, but having those people that you see a couple of times a week and actually get to spend your time with them I think that is so powerful. Like seeing my mates turning up for training when I know that they don't fucking want to be there because they've had to stay behind at work, or I know something personal has gone on that they're dealing with, and then they're still turning up and they're doing like the deadlift set, where most normal people would just be like, well, what the fuck am I doing here? Why I just need to go home and have a week off training. But it's like us people who aren't normal, who just keep going no matter what. And by the way, I'm not saying it's a good thing for people listening who are. I'm just saying that, you know, like people who are achieving these kind of extraordinary things, like I do believe that that's a kind of a big thing of the attitude. Not necessarily healthy, by the way.
No.
But it's
nothing about what we do is really healthy, is it? We're constantly damaging our bodies on a fucking daily basis. But like you say, it comes down to because you love it, don't you? Like,
yeah. So it leads on to the next question. So we've talked about you having a bit of a free hit at Brits and and like, oh yeah, get your call up, and there's no pressure on you, and you can, How do you feel now that you maybe want to watch? Like, say whenever you eventually do your next Giants live show or whatever, and the spotlight's going to be on you a little bit more, like absolutely smoking it at Brits. Like how does that affect things for you, like mentally? What does that will you feel any different or what?
I think if it's like a normal situation where like it's not a late call up and then I've actually got time to plan for it. Like, let's just say an example where I wouldn't have done that, but like, let's say I had more time for Brits and then I went and done fucking badly. Like, if going into another comp, if I've got a good run up to it, there wouldn't be that chance to go, oh, well, I didn't have long, that's why I did poorly. So there's going to be like an extra bit of pressure, isn't there, to perform. But like, again, it comes down to I'm only going to do what I'm capable of, and it's as simple as that. But like, I don't know. I think if I got another comp, it would just be, I'd treat it exactly the same. It would just be like, right, do what we did last time. Get a plan, get the training done, make sure my food's right, make sure I'm recovering properly, get them on sleep, and whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, I don't think it like for say like me and you, in terms of bit like from an athlete perspective, I don't think this affects us at all, because I think we're of a similar thing where all we do is our best. And if we can fucking tick all our boxes and then we go on the day and we come last or whatever, and someone takes a piss out of us and say, you're fucking useless, you've come last on everything. Like, you just tell me, like, so what? Like, I've done my best. I can't help being fucking shit. Like, that's how I feel. And it's the same whether you, like, for me, win, lose or draw, like it's the same thing to like myself. I always just do my best. So that's what.
Mate, if you put absolutely every fucking ounce of you into it, then like, who gives a fuck what people say, mate? Like, it's not, are they there doing it? Like, if you're so much better, you do it. Like, as long as I know that I've given everything I can and I sort of left everything out there, then that's good enough for me, mate. I can sleep at night. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to fucking lose sleep over that. It is what it is.
I think people who, maybe I'm speaking out of turn here a bit, but I think people who put more pressure on themselves when, or feel pressure when they come to, like, say, a bigger step or something, like, I just think they're maybe they're not trying hard enough all of the time. Because if you try hard all of the time, you don't have anything to be nervous about, because you do your best. Like that's all you can ask for. But
what's the saying as well? It's like pressure makes diamonds or something, isn't it?
So what would you do differently next time? But reflecting on Brits,
what do you mean? Like, what would I do differently in the lead up to it, or like?
Well, anyway, I suppose it's a bit of, from what we've just said, it's a bit of a loaded question, really, because like you're just do your best and just tick your boxes
Yeah.
and just try your best. But is there anything that I remember you saying one thing, I think it was maybe the loading medley, you wish you'd have gone a little bit faster, or I remember
yeah. So like I know, like I say again, I knew it was going to be a fast-paced show, so I knew I was going to have to pace myself through the event. So like, it's not necessarily like, for example, the deadlift. Yeah, I could have. I did the 360 anyway, but beforehand I was thinking, if I do a fast 3, it might not make any points difference if I do the 360. Like if so many guys ahead of me do 360, but then I do it in the slowest time, I may as well just stopped at 340 because I haven't gained anything by doing 360. So then, like going into the loading, I knew in training, I was probably between implements, I was probably running fucking 70%. Like I know I can move faster. But the biggest thing to me was I had power stairs last, and I've never done that event before. So like, I don't know if I go fucking all out on the loading, I might gain a couple of spots, but then going into the power stairs, it might have completely fucked me on my energy, and then I might have dropped places on that. So I was trying to, in my head, I was thinking, what can I do that's going to score me the most amount of points overall? So I thought if I hold back a little bit on the loading, I'm going to save some energy for the power stairs. But then obviously power stairs, they fucking blew me load on that anyway, didn't I? I got to the top on that last one. I just fucking couldn't do it. But like I say, maybe I wouldn't even have got the fifth implement up on the first step. And then that would have dropped me a couple of places. Do you know what I mean? So like I was, again, that's also partly inexperience. Again, I was trying to work out what's going to be best overall.
Yeah. And again, this is going a bit deeper with the training kind of thing. Like it's the exposure to different energy systems. It's completely different to powerlifting, because what you may actually feel like if you're hitting a 90%, if you're going over 90% on your squat and deadlift, for instance, you know that you're not going to have you're not going to be able to do much repeatability work, are you really?
Yeah.
Whereas actually you might find that you might have found this in your sprints already. You know, like say if you're doing like say you do 6 sets of 20 meters or something at a moderate weight. Say you did 110 farmers or something. You might actually find that you get 3 or 4 deep and you're starting to feel a bit fatigued. But then you look at your times on your 5th and your 6th and you're like, fuck me, my times are faster. So in terms of, so you might actually find this over the course of time when, and I know it's not, I know it's an uncomfortable in terms of energy system, but like working all out for 45 seconds, 40 seconds or whatever, in terms of the loading medley. But you might find that over the course of time, doing your work on like, say you know, like you're doing on the ski erg and stuff like that, you may actually get better at developing the energy system. So you might actually be doing your 45 seconds, 9 out of 10 effort, resting a couple of minutes. And then right now you might be, oh, fuck me, I can only go 35 seconds and then I'm absolutely fucked. But a few months down the line, you might be able to hit 45 seconds again with increased quality. Yeah, and over the course of time. So, what if you can develop those energy systems? Then, obviously, when you come into your comp day, you know that you're going to be. You know what? I can go all out on this, and I know that. I've got an hour before the next event, and I'm going to be fucking fine because I'm like.
Obviously, another part in the moving events as well that was playing on me. Obviously, most people could probably tell from the sound of my voice. I'm still not 100% now, but I was quite ill still. So like breathing was a little bit of an issue, and I know my cardio wasn't as good as it had been moving into that event before I got ill. So it was just I was just trying to manage it as well. Like when I said on the interview as well, has anyone got an inhaler? I generally did need one. I went out the back and fucking luckily someone had one. I had a few puffs in it because I couldn't get the air in like I normally would, because my throat had closed up a little bit and stuff. So I really just needed to get through it more than anything. So I thought if I'd gone full fucking ham on the loading, that could have written me off. That could have just fucking written me off completely, and that's the fucking competition done then.
So Lewis says, get into Worlds. So give us a thumbs up if you think Kane should have a shot at Worlds. I remember watching the heats from last year just at Christmas. And it was crazy, like thinking about the heats and thinking about the guys, some of the guys that you competed against at STL. And I thought, fuck me, I'd love to see you do that, you know, that loading medley at Worlds and some of the events. But anyway,
Yeah.
Or the stone off have been mint. But anyway, so Ryan asks, what drew you to strongman over powerlifting? And how long into your strongman training did you start working with Josh and Ellis?
Right. So powerlifting, I absolutely loved it. But it wasn't until I actually went and watched a strongman show that I was watching it and I just thought, you know what, that looks like so much fun. And it was just pure excitement from watching it. I thought, I'm going to give this a go. For about a year before, Shane and Mitch had both said to me as well, they're like, why don't you have a go at strongman? And I was like, I toyed with the idea of it, but in my head, I was like, I've got goals in powerlifting that I want to achieve, and I'm not doing anything until I've like hit 900 total and all that shit. Then it was obviously, luckily, I took the fucking step, started like training strongman. I think I'd probably been doing it in the gym, sort of doing my own thing for about 2 weeks, and then that's when I contacted you. And I think we started on like the 4th of January, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think I'd done my first ever strongman session. I think it was like mid-December, just before Christmas. So it really wasn't long at all. Like I knew from powerlifting that if I was going to do it, I need coaching. And obviously, it's not just squat, bench, deadlift, is it? You got fucking so many different events. I am walking into this blind. So obviously, you'd been recommended to me anyway, and I'd gone through your Instagram and all the content you put out anyway. It was like apparently clear straight away that you're very technical, and I thought if I'm gonna start something new, I need to get the tech down first of all, because I did it on my powerlifting. My deadlift went up quite a bit in a short amount of time, but with bad technique. And then when I got into the heavier weights, it fucking plateaued me. And then I spent a good year trying to unfuck my deadlift before I ever got any progression out of it again. So that's the last thing I wanted to do in strongman. I just thought, learn it right from the start. And if it takes longer, it takes longer. But at least in the long run, I'm going to be saving time. So that's sort of why I chose to obviously work with you.
So just before we go into the nutrition, like I think that it's been a beautiful partnership so far, because for me it's like the perfect thing, because it's like you've got the stuff for me that takes ages and ages and years and years and years is improving your force production, and in terms of like in terms of your strength, like which you've got that amazing base. Like for people who don't know, what were your SBD numbers? Like, what's your best total or best training total?
All right, so when I was powerlifting, I did a 350 squat, but to be honest, that was the last powerlifting competition I did, and I left it at 350 because it turned out I had fucking COVID, which I didn't know. So I was feeling rough, but honest to God, I believed if I put 370, 375 on the bar that day, I would have squat it. But in competition, 350 was my best. I did a 200 bench and a 330 deadlift.
Yeah,
that was sort of like my powerlifting numbers.
So you've done what have you done since? You've done 220 bench, haven't you? 220.
I've benched 227.5
in the gym. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is the other thing as well, right? When we started with the strongman, we didn't do any bench press, did we? I literally stopped benching overnight because there's no need for a bench press unless you're doing incline or something. You ain't got a flat bench in strongman. Yeah, well, it just restricted my mobility more.
Yeah, I just kept it in just to keep you sweet.
Yeah. I don't think I benched for literally, I hadn't been under a bench press in about 4 months, just been training overhead and stuff. And then I was actually waiting for my missus to pick me up one night because my car was being MOT'd. So I had a bit of spare time in the gym, and I put fucking 215 on, and I pressed it like a second attempt in a comp. And I still had more to go. And I was thinking, fuck me, where'd that come from? And then I think, and then we played with that for a little bit, didn't we? We put it back in the program, obviously, like I say, to keep me sweet. Then I pressed 500 pounds. And then I started to after that, that was a goal I'd always had, is to press 500 pounds. So once I'd done that, I could almost right, I could forget about the bench now. But then I realised that it was affecting my overhead as well. Like my mobility was then getting worse because I was flat benching heavy all the time. Yeah. So I think we had the conversation, didn't we? And I was like, whatever we need to do it. If that means fucking bench off, then we'll fuck bench off. Like if it's not important, it don't need to be in the program. Like I only want what's in my program is going to help for the next goal. If it ain't, then what's the point?
Yeah, and your overhead is significantly better since then. Like technically, like holding that overhead, the rack and the dip position, it's just brilliant. You look at that Viking set from the other day, and you look at the explosion through the legs, like because that was the thing that I was concerned with you at first. I was thinking that you were doing some stuff with like training with Mitch, and you were doing. Training with Mitch and Shane and doing some like really good strict press, like really strong strict press on the log, and he looked really comfortable. And you could almost be tempted to go down the line of just getting like you'd see really quick gains on that. But I just feel like your ceiling's going to be so much higher, learning the technicalities of the leg drive, of which now you're starting to. It's taken a while, but you're starting to pay off. And you look at the line that you're pressing on now, you're actually like you
it's getting better, isn't it? It's definitely coming on.
So much better. But
it's like I think when I started, like my best log was like a shit 130. Then we got it up around like 140, and then I think like as we started to move through the SCL and we were really drilling log, I think just before the finals, like the last heavy log session I did a double with 165, and one of them was I think I did the first rep strict, and then the second then I dropped it to the floor, cleaned it again, and then did 1 rep push press, and that was like it just fucking it just went mental all of a sudden, didn't it? It just started clicking again.
I think that's made it click. Doing the obviously the more volume, the rep work from the chest. But also getting you to see, like teaching the principles of videoing it from the side and just saying, look, get it in a perfectly straight line, get rid of that fucking banana arc that everybody does at the front. It's got to be a straight line and it's got to be ever so slightly back. And since you've like started videoing the sides and uploading from the sides, like it's definitely improved drastically.
It's like I know one of the biggest things in my log as well. Like obviously the mobility is what's letting me down. I can put more over my head. That like I've got the strength to do more than I can currently do. I know I have. It's just all that technique. But my job is I dig holes all day every day. So like I'm shoveling all the time. So my upper back is always pretty tight. My lats are tight because I'm fucking throwing dirt around. And it's just something I know I just got to keep on top of my physio. And the more I do, the better it is. But again, it's just like say my job's my job, and I can't really help that right now. So I just got to work around it as best as I can. But I know that is a limiting factor and part of the reason why I have poor mobility. But I just got to keep on top of it. But I think we can push log further this year than we did last year, 100%. Like
100%, mate. Like I sent you the numbers the other day, didn't I? There's like little things in your head to get up to past 180 or whatever. So tell us about your nutrition then. So when did Ellis come on board, and how did that come on?
So Ellis was, I think I started with Ellis just before I started with you. Actually, I think it was like 3 days before. I think I messaged Ellis in December. I was actually away in Ireland at the time. I think I was helping my friend out at a powerlifting comp, and I dropped Ellis a message. And then I think we agreed to start on like the start of January or something like that. So it was pretty much around the same time. But I think when I started with Ellis, I was about 137 kilo, and I didn't even look like I went to the gym. Like I was a fucking blob. So like what I like to say is like I say I look like a sausage roll because I was the same thickness all the way through. Like there was fucking nothing there, but. Like the main thing Ellis said to me is like, we're going to change the body composition, get the food right. And like for months, there was no shit food and cheat meals and stuff. It was just like, just drilling all the good food. And my body composition got better. My fucking performance got a lot better. Obviously that coupled with training. And I actually started to feel better as well. And it was improving my sleep. because my food was good. I was sleeping better, and it was just loads of little things I didn't realize were going to happen through nutrition. And yeah, it just all fucking fell into place brilliantly, really.
Yeah, I
but like Ellis has done fucking wonders with me, to be fair.
Like, that was the first time I met you in person, wasn't it, in at England? And I thought you were just a fucking blob. But then I met you in real life, and you're like, oh my God, he's really tall as well. I just thought you were a little potato.
Like, actually, for the first time, I had that little, like, I actually had like a little slight V shape on my lat, and my waist coming a little bit. But I was still nearly 23 stone. But yeah, I actually sort of looked like I went to the gym for once.
Brilliant. So
like I wish, like, with nutrition and that, I'd always try to eat well, but I'd always fucking get them extra calories in with like KFC and McDonald's and all the shit that you fucking shouldn't be eating. But it was worked out for the better now, isn't it? So
yeah, so the value of having a team is incredible. A thing that I've talked about quite a lot, like all the different facets of training within Strongman. Like, I've had people helping me out in, like, there's been times where I've had like 5 or 6 coaches. I've had like someone who do my overall programming, someone coaching me deadlift, somebody a weightlifter doing my overhead, a sprint coach helping me with moving events, a nutrition coach, a weight cut coach for when I'm getting close to comp. Like, the more obviously you can, for me, obviously it's my job and I have a business. So I mean, I just see it as investing, and I don't mind spending money on it, like education and whatever, and investing in myself as a coach, blah, 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 blah. But like, expanding that network and that building that team of people that you trust. And, you know, when something comes in your head and you have a bit of a reservation, you think, fuck me, instead of like thinking of all the different scenarios, you just message someone in your team who you trust, and you just be like, oh, well, I'll ask him or her, like, they'll know better than me. Boom, you get the message back and your mind's at rest. You know what I mean?
But there's even been a couple of situations with us before, I think, where I've messaged you talking about something and you're like, mate, just stop being a fucking pussy. And then I'm like, yeah, actually, no, I am being a fucking bit of a pussy, but I know I can do it, so why am I even fucking questioning it? And it's like, sometimes that's what you need. Like, someone's just be like, mate, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, or even not just being a pussy, but like what to focus on. You know, you're thinking, oh, well, I've been thinking about this, and this. Stop wasting time thinking about that.
Concentrating on. We need to work harder on this. Yeah.
Just double down on that for the next couple of weeks. See how it goes.
Yeah.
We reflect on it. See how that goes. Then we can worry about the next stuff. Right. Let's move on to the next little section. And I just want like a 1-minute tip on each of these that people can take away. So, Kane's top tip for deadlift. Something that's improved your deadlift. Can be anything, but maybe something a little bit out of the ordinary, something unexpected, a little game changer at some point in your deadlift career.
For me, probably the biggest game changer of mine was my positioning, really. Like, I used to deadlift with quite a wide stance, wide grip. And then I think one day I was just piss-arsing around I think we watched a video of some guy deadlifting with his feet really close together, and I sort of brought my feet in a little bit, and I'd repped a weight that I'd done for one once. But like, I say with the deadlift, you just got to figure it out, and just play with your deadlift. I think I probably changed mine about 4 times before I finally found a way that clicked. But also pulling from different heights as well. Because for me, it was like deadlifts from the floor, and that's how you deadlift. Like, but then I think when I got like a bit more knowledge behind from what we were doing, I realised my weakest point worked from that as well. So like play with the height of the deadlift, and you start to break through the weaker parts of the deadlift, and you build the whole lift up more like stronger.
Sweet. Kane's top tip
but
for
that
Yoke.
helped massively.
Kane's top tip for Yoke.
Right. So for me, again, the train track, making sure everything's stacked on top of each other, keeping your feet not short, fast steps. Don't try and walk with it. You almost shuffling with a yoke, aren't you? That would be my biggest tip for that. Don't think that, because you see a lot of people, they do yoke and they waddle, don't they?
Yeah.
It's like, I started like that and it was shit. And then when we learned like train tracks, it was like slight split stance, shuffle your feet as fast as you can. And even things like when you're walking around the house, just practice your footwork as you're walking up and down your corridor. I mean, it's like little things like that. You do that a fucking 1,000 times in your house. So when you get underneath it, it's the same fucking thing. But short, fast steps, train tracks, keep everything stacked on top of each other. And Yoke for me fucking flew after we started doing that.
Brilliant. Kane's top tip for Viking press.
God, you don't want tips off me for fucking overhead. I'm not the last person you want for fucking that.
Well, no, I disagree with that because you've gone from shit to being really good. Get like finishing. You're not a massive fan of log yet, and you've come third at SCL on comps. On log, you've hit 140 for 4 twice. You've hit Viking press. 3 reps off the world record that Paul set last week. So don't discredit.
Well, three if you include Paul's. Yeah. For me, biggest tip on Viking press is just make sure you use that leg drive. Don't try strict it. Make sure you're using all of your body to get the weight up, because your legs are like some of the biggest muscles in your body, aren't they? If you can use them correctly, then you're just throwing it up, and again, like done by you're catching it, aren't you? Use as much leg drive as possible.
Brilliant. Kane's top tip for carry medleys.
Don't fall flat on your face on the back of a truck in front of a crowd of people. No, what's a tip for carrying? Just, I don't know, work. Make sure your cardio's up to scratch, because you ain't going to get through a load of medley if you can't breathe through it.
I think a real good thing that's worked for you without you necessarily realizing how good it's been is working towards times, and whether that be like, say, right, I'm going to put this together and beat 40 seconds, or what's Shane doing? Right, I'm going to go try and get within whatever amount of seconds on that. Because I find that if what's worked well for you on a lot of things is actually because I think we're very similar, where we're goal orientated with things. If we have that kind of dangling carrot that we're obsessing about, then all the technique and all the performance stuff kind of takes care of itself and becomes more efficient without even thinking of the intricacies of the cues. You're not thinking about your hand positioning on this, or you're just thinking about.
It's like what we did with stones, wasn't it? You'd say, do a 4-stone run, hit this many seconds. Do a 5-stone run, hit this many seconds. And you give me something to chase, didn't it? And it definitely improved my stone runs a lot.
And that's it. And then when you were clearly falling out of that and being like, oh, well, I was making a mistake there, then we can work on, why is the mistake happening? Right, try your hand position here, or try and take a breath, or whatever the cue be. But actually just looking at the big picture of making it objective and measuring it, and then trying to beat those objective measures can be really good. Because a lot of people are just like, oh, we'll do a few runs with the sandbag. Yeah, feels okay or whatever.
And another thing with the carry as well, which was a big mistake I made in the final, never change what you do in training on the day. Like, because you pick a sandbag up at either end, didn't you? On the day, we had different bags because the bags split or whatever, so they had to get these different sandbags in. But I tried to pick it up with a different technique, and it didn't work on the first one, and I fell flat on my face. And then for some fucking stupid reason, I decided to do the same technique on the last 2 bags. And that actually is what cost me second place. So, like, if you're going to train to pick up an implement a certain way, don't ever change it on the day, because it can cost you.
And on the day, get your hands on the implements no matter what. Like at Brits, you were about a minute before going out, and you said to me, you're like, oh, where should I put? I haven't touched this anchor yet. Where should my hands? And I'm like, what? What the fuck? And then
it was all moving quite quickly, and I think I had some physio after the Viking press, trying to release my lower back off. And by the time I got up to go look at the equipment, it was fucking out there. Brilliant. So I didn't have time. But I think what I did was I went and sat down, didn't I? Because I think where I'd done okay in the Viking press, I was like the 3rd or the 4th pair out. So I literally just sat on a chair on the side, and I was just watching how everyone picked it up, just to see whatever other people were doing.
So Kane's top tip for power stairs.
Top tip for power stairs. Don't throw the whole implement as far on the step as you can, because it's so much harder to lift it up and in. Whereas if you can almost bring it half and half on that step, as you're bringing it up, you can swing it forward. You use the momentum of the implement to actually help it up. Otherwise, it's like you're moving it on a curve rather than trying to bring it up and then push it forward. It worked quite well on the first 3 implements. I think I can actually hear you on one of my videos on the 4th implement. You're saying half and half or something, aren't you? You were shouting something at me.
Yeah, keep it at the back or something. I said, I can't
keep
remember.
Keep it at the back, yeah.
But that's what we did in the warm up, wasn't it? Because like you did the warm up and you launched the warm up weight, but you launched it to the front of the step, and then you had to. And you see,
it makes it harder.
You see it with a lot of the guys that are who were struggling late on, and they get to the point where their arms can't lift it up anymore. Or if
exactly. What happened to me on the last time? Obviously, like if you're a shorter guy as well, like I'm 6'1", but I've got quite short arms. So like even for me, I'm fairly tall, but I'm not as tall as some of the guys. You know what I mean? And trying to get that up, it is fucking hard work. But naturally, you're going to want to. You think in your head, I want it as close to the step as possible because you haven't got to lift it as far. But in the reality of it, by having it further back, you've got that momentum to like swing the weight up, and it definitely made a difference. Like say, if we hadn't done that in the warm ups, it could have been a different story. Do you know what I mean? On the actual event itself.
Yeah, because as soon as you catch that lip, it's heartbreaking because it just kills your energy, doesn't it? Like it just.
Well, you seen it when I got to that top step, didn't I? I just was sat on the edge. And I had nothing else to bring it up.
Another little tip for the power stairs that Kane does really well is like you get used to, even if you don't feel like you're athletic in training, jump up the step, like because you'll be surprised if you try it how easy it feels to jump up because of like the potentiation effect of your body, like loading that heavy weight. It just feels weightless, doesn't it? Where you hop up, like you see the guys that
you're essentially pushing yourself up anyway, aren't you? Because you're pushing off the implement. So
exactly,
it's not hard to hop up on it.
And
you see some guys, they sort of step up, don't they? And they're wasting valuable seconds, I suppose.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Kane's top tip for farmers walk fast time. So this has been one of your the event that's probably got you the most points this season, isn't it? Or last season or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I'd say on that, but like, firstly, make sure you're taking the strain out of the implement before the whistle goes. So as soon as you hear that whistle, you fucking go. You're essentially already holding the weight, aren't you? But also, depending on the implement, grab the handles slightly further forward. Bring the front up higher. You think on your hand, what's your 3 strongest fingers? It's not like these 3, is it? That's like the weaker ones, I'd say. I'd say the 3 from the index are your strongest fingers, so you can grip tighter in them. So if you can hold further on the implement, bring the nose of the implement up. When you start moving, it's dragging you forward anyway. And you've got a stronger grip, so just fucking move. I feel if you hold them up level, it takes it's a bit harder to get going with them. But I feel by having the handles higher on the front, momentum pulls you forward and gives you a good start on like the acceleration of the like moving.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. That's something that I use quite extensively. It just make like for someone like me compared to you with my like say my deadlift strength, like compared to how good my grip is for the weights that I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes the pickup feels really, really hard and slow. Whereas a thing that having my hands towards the front, I can leave it. I can like essentially car deadlift that front end up, and I've not taken all the weight and get that momentum, and it just makes it feel so much easier to pick up on the pickup, which can be save you that couple of like split second or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you're doing like say you 150 for. Say you're doing 150 for 15 meters and you go in 7 seconds, like that little bit of a quicker pickup can be massively different. Kane's top tip for stone runs.
I think what we just explained a minute ago about giving yourself set times to complete things in, and then just over time slowly shave a little second off on each goal that you got to do. So then it gives you that, like say, you got them smaller parameters to do it, and it's you're chasing something then, aren't you? Rather than just going through the motions of doing the stones, you're knocking time off because you're setting little goals every time. Also, again, checking the implement as well before you go out. Like I've had it before. I think it was on the Bosnia comp actually. Some of the stones were so close to the platform, I could see guys hitting their head on the platform as they were trying to lift them. So like making sure before you go out, fucking check the stones. You've got your time. They ain't going to blow the whistle until you're in place, are they? So the worst that's going to happen is they're going to go, get to where you need to be. But fucking move the stones around. Get them where you feel they're best. And even if they allow you to do it, fucking chuck a bit of webbing on the heavier ones at the end, so you've got that extra bit of grip.
Yeah,
if we're talking about like competition tips.
Yeah, that's a.
And then if they tell you, you're not allowed to do that, well, at least you've got a little bit on there, haven't you? So
yeah. Or if you're first out, after you've done yours, put a bit of baby oil on afterwards if you fail yours for the next person. That way, joking.
Yeah.
Right. So I've got 5 more questions now, and then we'll be done in less than 10 minutes. Yeah. So these are just some other random questions that I've got. So tips for finding the line between pushing to your max and making a mistake. So how to avoid feeling like you've left some in the tank. So the question comes from a person here who really wants to push themselves in training or competition, but they feel like how do you find that sweet spot between not being like pushing yourself but without being reckless, and basically not being going too far the other way and avoiding being a pussy, basically.
Suppose just listening to your body more than anything. Like if everyone's got a rough idea what they can do anyway. So like use your previous sessions as like a guide to where you're sort of going to be anyway. So like if you know you're going for a max and then like I don't know, a couple of sessions out you're pulling a heavy double, do something realistic. Don't try and go fucking like I wouldn't say you really want to be going balls to the wall on every max anyway. You always want to leave a little something in there, don't you, to then push you into like the next training cycle or something. So you've got a good point to work off. But I quite often take the option that I have sometimes going a little bit heavier. But like think about other sessions as well. Like if you know you're doing a heavy deadlift and you got a fucking heavy squat a few days later, it might be worth like pulling back a little bit. But
yeah, and I think the key there is like you say, looking at previous data where it's obvious on things like like say the squat, deadlift, log, and stuff like that, because you know what your maxes are, what you might know what your 3-rep maxes are, your 5-rep maxes and stuff. But like sometimes people struggle to track the data on stuff like moving event. Like how often do you see when people are training farmers or whatever, and they might put, I've done 120 farmers, feeling really good or whatever, and that's their measure. It's just how it feels. Like, well, how fast are you going? Like, what's your what speed? What distance? What speed? Oh, I don't know. It's just over there, like 10, 15 meters or whatever. Like, if you're not assessing, you're guessing. That's a thing that I always say.
Yeah.
So because very often how often do you do stuff in training where you'll do something and it feels fucking shit, or you think, oh god, I'm absolutely lightning. You look at your speed and you're like, oh my god, I'm like 2 seconds slower than what I thought it was. But then you go again, you feel like you're working as hard in terms of perceived exertion, but you're not 2 seconds off because you pull your foot. But it's it's reacting to that data, isn't it? But also as well, it can be if you're tracking more data, you can actually call yourself out for being a pussy, and you can actually think, well, maybe I'm just saving a bit too much in the tank here. Maybe I should be like logically, I should be able to do a little bit more after this training cycle, whatever. Hopefully that helps with the
I
answer.
suppose another good thing as well that a lot of people use, like used to come up a lot in powerlifting, is like the RPE scale. Like if you understand the scale of RPE, that's like a very good guide. A very good guide for you to sort of know where you are. Like for me personally, when it comes to like a squat and a deadlift, if I work out an RPE calculator and it tells me a number, I always like to take maybe 10 kilo off whatever number comes up, and that's normally like a real good sweet spot for me. And like if I go with that number 9 times out of 10, I get it, and I've got a bit in the tank. Like if I don't know, say I do like 340 for free on a deadlift, and it says, all right, you're gonna pull 385. I'd probably put like 370 on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because if I choose the number it's telling me, there's a potential, it's a max. If it's a max, you might hurt yourself. So then I suppose that's that line, isn't it? Just knowing when to dial it back a little bit and just leave that little bit in the tank.
Yeah, I like it.
But I still use RPE sometimes now when we're looking at numbers and I'm trying to like figure stuff out. I still find it really helpful. But
yeah, definitely. Great. So, difference between loading a sandbag and a stone in terms of technique. So these last 4 questions, by the way, we can work on together. Like we're both saying on it. So, differences between loading a sandbag and loading a stone, particularly around extension due to circumference differences and because the sandbag doesn't roll up. Like what do you like? I'll give you a scenario, Kane. So, say you're doing that. You know, we did the OSG qualifier, pissing about for that or whatever. You're doing like say 160 to 180-ish or whatever, stone and sandbag. Like, can you remember to shoulder? Like,
what you mean to shoulder when we're doing it to the shoulder?
Yeah, but this question for just extension or whatever. But I mean, just picture that. Like, picture how 180 felt on both or 160, and just think about the technique differences and which you prefer, and like what were the things to think about on both.
So like, obviously, I much prefer stones to loading anyway. So I thought originally I was just going to do like a stone to shoulder. But like you say, when you think about the circumference of a 180 stone compared to like a 100 kilo stone, it was fucking hard. I think I did do a 180, but I didn't hold it for long enough. It rolled off my back. So I chose to go with the sandbag. But again, the sandbag was like probably more. It was more difficult to get it into a lap position because again, the sandbag's fucking massive, and I could barely get my grip around it. But I don't know, like it's the shape of the implement plays a huge part, doesn't it? But
yeah, it is a difficult one. Like generally, you can get if you can get a decent grip of the stone. The advantage with the stone is if you can extend powerfully from the bottom position, the stone will roll.
Triple extension is so much easier with a stone than it is with a long cylindrical object. You know what I mean? Because the stone, once you've got it to your lap, you can squeeze it in, can't you? Whereas with the sandbag, you've almost got to get underneath it to throw it up, and that really threw me, to be honest.
So yeah, this might be a thing to think about. This may answer the question somewhat. So with the stone, what you can kind of often get away with is like one massive extension, and then you kind of get it enough
force out that to roll it.
Yeah, to kind of use the momentum. Whereas with a sandbag, you almost don't want to blow your load on.
It's just fucking dead weight.
So what you might want to do is not blow your load on that first one, because you're gonna need to stop and extend again. And sometimes, like I've done heavy sandbag to shoulder, and it's taken like I've popped the first one to my belly button, then to my sternum, then to my chest, then to my high chest, and then eventually to my shoulder. Whereas with a stone, it'd just be one massive extension, and then can you kind of go up again? So being patient and learning how to pop and reset and not panic. A good drill actually for if you're trying this, like a thing that I found massively beneficial was actually doing the sandbag from the block. So actually taking the pickup out and actually just doing the extension part.
Learning how to throw that top half up.
Yeah, and I found that massively beneficial for learning the technique. But
after I think I got a 180 sandbag, and I had a couple of goes on it because that did exhaust me pretty quickly. But I think it was my third attempt at trying it. I got it up. I think it was like 178 or 174 once we'd loaded it and weighed it. But I found once I got it into a lat position, I almost tried to like sink my body down as far as I could. So by the time I'm standing up for the extension, the sandbag, I wanted it as high up on my shoulder as possible, so I could just use the top half of the bag to almost take the weight of the rest of the bag over. Whereas with the stone, like say, once it's in the lap, you get your hand position, you squeeze it, and you just extend and roll, and the momentum took the stone up. But with the bag, it was you had to work the position out so much more. And I thought the bag might have been easier because it's a bag.
That's a cue that worked well for me, was like when I'm popping the bag up, as you pop it up and extend and trying to sneak it up a little bit higher, almost dropping your hip, trying to drop your hips underneath it more. Like almost like trying to pop and hump underneath it kind of thing, and get your hips underneath it as you pop. So best angle to analyze technique on videos. So this is somebody who's coaching clients and stuff, and like the best, which we'll go through a few lifts and what's the best angle to see. So like we've talked about this before on dumbbell, where we say, right, if we see it from the front, we can just draw a line through the center of mass, through your belt button, and that's go on.
Yeah, like I say, with the dumbbell, middle of the feet, isn't it? And then you can stack your hip, your shoulder, your elbow, your wrist, everything on top of each other. I think that was the biggest cue you actually gave me when we started improving my dumbbell. It was that line, drawing that line through the middle of all my videos. That helped a lot. Yeah. But then they say you talk about something like a log, and even a deadlift, film everything from the side. So it doesn't look as good on Instagram. Who gives a fuck? But if you want to sort your technique out, everything should be from the side, because you see your bar path or log path, or whatever you want to call it. You can see if you're getting your hips back, if your back's flat. You can see everything. You can't hide anything from the side, can you, when you're filming on like a log or a deadlift? Yeah, great. So a thing that like a lot of, like say, weightlifting coaches look for is from the around 45 degrees. So then you can see that if you're just looking for general overall, like around like 45 degrees from the side, and then you can see the overall from the side and kind of a bit from the front as well. So yeah, I'd say roughly start from that angle, but if you can get some from the side and some from the front, stuff like dumbbell, definitely from the front. Well, but basically, you want to be seeing the angle where you can decide. You can see where the center of the mass of the object, whatever you're lifting, is aligned with your center of mass in the importance positions. That's what that I always think of. You take this one. So, importance of specific kit familiarization when prepping for a competition. How to avoid making silly mistakes on like different logs and farmers, for example. So, how important is it to like you're going out to SC? Yeah, like it's something that for me, I can be a bit guilty of. Like I just like obsess about the intricacies of all the different implements, and if I can get the specifics, then I'll obsess about them. But say you've done the SCL comps all abroad or whatever, and you don't know till the fucking day like what you're going to be using or what the ground's going to be like. So I'm pretty sure every SCL comp I've done when we've had a log, it's been a different diameter log, and it makes the whole rack position changes, doesn't it? When you've got a different diameter, because you either length further back if it's a wider log, or like it definitely is something that I would in the future as well. Still, if I know I can train on different types of kit, train on as much different types of kit as you can, because you don't want to go into anything blind. You need to get used to every different like type of kit, like the diameters and stuff.
Yeah. So I've got a couple of good videos on this. If somebody types it into YouTube and put how to find your log rack position every time, British Strongman coaching, it'll come up, and it's a little hack that works for every log. And it's just start with the log overhead.
The reverse.
Yeah. Just do a slow eccentric, and then let it roll down your body, and then that'll teach you where you should start your clean from, and then it's just going to
Yeah.
land in that perfect rack position every time. But it's so important to do if you haven't touched because it just tells you what to do for each individual log that changes all the time, and especially for like say bigger guys, like say even you Kane, say what you vary in terms of your weight and your body dimensions. You could be, I don't know, what are you roughly, 135, 140 or something? What weight?
What now?
Well,
like
like
141 at the moment.
141. So what would your range be over like say your competitions that you've done, like 135 to 145 roughly, or have you been as heavy as?
Yeah, I started out at 135 and I was like 146 my heaviest, but
right,
I like to sit in the middle of that really.
So 11 kilos variance over the course of say 7 months or whatever. So 11 kilos, your ideal positions on log are going to be fucking completely different on the same log. It's going to change subtly but significantly. So you need to know how your technique changes and how you can optimize your technique for these individual pieces of kit. So yeah, the thing that you can do a big thing to look out for on farmers as well is like how far away the pins are, because what difference this can make in terms of how far you're striding out. Because you might find that you may not realize that your farmers at your comp are a little bit shorter than your ones in trading. You go to stride out and then you're fucking clipping your heels. But then you might go to another comp and your handles are where the plates are further apart and you're short stepping it because of your farmers that you train with, and you're missing the opportunity to stride out, and you could be going faster. So in my opinion, the best way to deal with this is, providing that you look at your data and like using the example before of doing, say, 6 sets of 20 meters and watching your times get better. Like if your times are getting better over the course of 5 or 6 sets in training, don't be fucking afraid of getting some decent warm-up sets in on comp day. And you see it like literally at every level, everybody's shit scared of warming up. Like on farmers, it's a sprint. If you're doing 150, if you're doing 160, you're doing 170 farmers, it's a fucking sprint. So you should be warming up fast with 130s, 140s, 150s. You know you can recover. But what we often see people doing, people will just do pickups and just grip it or do a few deadlifts with it. It's a joke.
Yeah.
They're not warming up what they're supposed to be doing. The biggest variable is not going to be whether you can hold on to it for long enough. It's going to be how to optimize that footwork. Like, can you step out? Can you, like, how far can you step out? You don't know. Like, used these fucking farmers before. You need to be.
As I say,
use them.
Like them farmers we did in Romania, the big wooden log ones. The implement itself was about 1 foot wide, and then you think your handles are in the middle of that, so it was beating off your legs. So even when we were like getting ready for it, they had to get the equipment from like the van or whatever it was, wherever they kept it, to where it actually was where we were starting. And I was going over and I was picking up, running 5 meters, and I was just bringing it to actually where they wanted it. So I was actually warming up on the equipment by helping them move the equipment to where it needed to be, rather than just waiting for them to get it there and then go, right, now everyone's going to want to have a go. No one else wanted to fucking carry it from the van to the fucking venue. So I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And I got about 4 or 5 runs in for about 5 meters, just moving it to where they needed it to be. And whereas everyone else was sort of like stood over the side waiting for it to be brought over. So I was getting that extra experience on it because it was big.
And you can make those subtle little tweaks, like those big ones. Like I've only used them a couple of times, but a thing that I found when it wasn't crazy heavy, I found that I think it did actually hold that. I always hold the farmers at the front sub maximal, but I think I held these at the back, held these towards the back. Let the really long ones, let the front ends touch, and it almost like a frame, like a triangle frame. And then because I was holding at the back, it created space where I could move my feet a little bit better in the little triangle. Yeah. But anyway, like little things like this, you can only do by actually trying it and exposing it. What I would say for general training phase, would be, and a thing that if anybody watches my training on Instagram and stuff like that, like when I'm not prepping for a comp specifically and I'm just doing like, say, training log or training axle, like literally I'll be changing every main session. I'll be changing the variation of like, say, I'll be doing like, say, a JT log from pads. Next week, I'm doing an 11-inch log from the blocks, or the next week I'm going on the lifting platform. The next week I've picked a bit of fucking wet AstroTurf that I'm doing my log jerks on, so I know that I can't rely on, like, I'm just changing up the scenario. I'm doing a smooth axle.
Well, it's like you say, that takes us back to the log in Romania where it was a waterlogged fucking gravelly floor. It was an uneven floor. All I'd ever done is train indoors on a hard surface, and now I'm outdoors on a soft surface, and it fucking cost me points.
Yeah.
That's
a thing that you referred to before as well about doing the log outside. You do log outside. Sunglasses are getting used to sunglasses is a big thing. I think really beneficial. Yeah. But if you just I don't know if you did it where I've done it where I know I've been logging outside. The last few sessions, you feel like a twat doing it, but in the gym, I've been wearing my sunglasses and I've been like doing log underneath like a bright LED light to try and, you know, mimic being the outdoor conditions.
That's just being like as specific as possible with what you've got there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you know you're going to be outside in the sun, doing it under the light with your shades on inside, it's just you try to recreate the space that you're going to be in, aren't you?
Yeah, because I've done it before where I've just like been like, right, well, it's sunny on the day, so I wear my sunglasses on the day, but then I've gone to wear my sunglasses on the day, and then I felt like my depth perception's all out. It's just weird.
Yeah.
So then I've just got used anyway. But just like all these different scenarios, I suppose interesting for you because like with powerlifting, it's all standardized and you know what you're expecting, don't you? You know, you're using your calibrated plates. You know, you're using your squat bar, your bench, your power bar, your deadlift bar, etc. Whereas strongman, it's like the fucking Wild West, isn't it? Like a lot of the time, and yeah, it's a thing that I love about it, by the way. But yeah, you can definitely benefit from both ends. Like, say, someone like me coming from the standpoint of breaking it down and being all intricate and getting all the dimensions of the competition. And then there's like you on the other end where just be fucking strong as fuck and just turn up on the day and, you know, and that's what you've done sometimes. And even though that we would ideally prepare all the kind of eventualities and the specifics, like, just being strong is really, really important, isn't
it? There's been times going into some of these SEL comps when I haven't even been given the events until we're like 5 days out or or a week out or something. So then it's like you can't even train specifically for a competition. So you are just turning up on the day, but then everyone else is in the same boat as well. So it is a part of it is about just being strong all the time, isn't it? You can't always have everything perfect.
Yeah,
and it's not always going to be like that. So you got to learn to adapt quickly.
Yeah, I think that's why it's been a good partnership so far. Is because like you come from that background of like just being really, really, really strong and wanting to get more kind of you know technical with the events and stuff. Whereas like don't get me wrong, like I am getting strong. I am stronger than most people. Don't get me wrong, but like I started winning comps when I was like, fucking hell, I'm not even like I'm probably the weakest guy here, and I'm beating people because
you're efficient.
Know, exactly. Like yeah. So, but obviously, if you can marry them both together, like because you see it right at the top level. You see the guys that even you learning like say the little like technical tweaks and tips and stuff that you've once you learn them, you can't really unsee them anymore, and you'll see that fuck me, why doesn't so and so just go and do this? Like, and he could lift another, like could easily put 20 kilos on his log if he does this, so he's pressing it out there or whatever. Like, but yeah, marrying them both up together is just brilliant. So finally, and we've kind of touched on this already, but we'll go over it again. How would your approach differ when prepping for a comp of higher caliber than you're used to? So say, for instance, Kane, you got a call up 2 weeks out, world's strongest man. You're called up at the last minute. And you're going out there and you're thinking, competing against these guys you've watched on telly for years and years, are your inspirations, you know you're going to be there. How do you treat it any differently to if you were doing Weymouth's strongest novice?
The answer probably everyone would expect would be yes, but probably no. It's like, if you treat me personally, it doesn't matter what level it is, I'm going to treat every single comp exactly the same. Like you go somewhere, you go to win at the end of the day, don't you? Whether you're fucking going to or not, the idea in your head is you're going there to win. So just keep the same mindset all the time.
Yeah, we've gone over this, haven't we?
Yeah.
Right, mate. Leave it at that.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, phone was bad. Die. I had to plug the charger in.
Right. Cheers for that. Good to have a chin wag on it. It was good fun. I enjoyed that. All right, mate. Right, I'll catch up with you soon. I knew we'd fucking chat shit for ages.
How long have we been on here?
Right, 2 hours and 10.
Oh, fucking hell.
Right, I'll see you later. Yeah.
Cheers, Josh.
See you later, mate. Nice one.